The Terapa fossil site is located in northeastern Sonora, Mexico, adjacent to the north end of a small village, San Clemente de Terapa, which is about 115 miles south of the Arizona-Mexico border. Terapa is just south of Moctezuma, a mission and university town. The canyon of the Rio Moctezuma is just west of the Terapa village and fossil site. Basaltic lava flows cap the landscape on both sides of the canyon. In 2002, natural scientists from Tucson visited Terapa and were introduced to an amazing bone collection by Santiago Garcia Lopez and a young boy, Ramon. In this photo, Santiago is showing us a thigh bone of an extinct elephant, and Ramon is holding the lower jaw of an extinct elephant. In fact, local residents have been finding bones, big bones, at Terapa for a long time. The legend was that the bones belonged to an extinct giant boy. Dr. Jim Mead, a Tumamoc Desert Lab researcher, and Arturo Baez from the University of Arizona coordinated numerous excavations at the Terapa site from 2003 to 2009 with the help of many students, local people, and other professional paleontologists. Given that bison bones are found at Terapa, the fossil site falls within the Rancho La Brea geologic time period spanning 240,000 to 11,000 years ago. Recent analysis of the fossil-rich sediments and associated lava flow dates the Terapa fossils at between 43,000 and 40,000 years ago. This region is located within the Southern Basin and Range geologic province, characterized by alternating high mountains and lowlands. Terapa lies within the northernmost extent of the dry tropical vegetation zone. The environment at Terapa 40,000 years ago was different. It was cooler, more tropical, with a riparian forest, ponds, marsh, and savanna grasslands. Woodlands and shrubs grew on the uplands surrounding the Terapa site. The variety of fossil organisms found at the Terapa site is amazing. They include direwolf, crocodile, fish, turtle, tortoise, lizards, snakes, frogs, salamander, birds, shrews, bats, glyptodon, an armadillo relative, ground sloth, horse, bison, rodents, extinct elephants, including mammoth, mastodon, and gomphothere, mollusks, ostracods, and more. Some of the mammals are northern species that disperse south, barely into Mexico, such as bison and mammoth, while others are tropical species that dispersed north but did not make it into Arizona during the Ice Age, such as the giant armadillo, the gomphothere, and the crocodile. The Terapa site is one of 3 Ice Age vertebrate fossil sites in Sonora that is studied in detail. 11 professional papers have been published about the site, and more are in the works. In 2005, Paul Martin visited Terapa. He began his tour viewing fossils on display in Santiago's home, and then sat down with Jim Mead to discuss the site and its significance.
Oh, it's so cool. We got an area it's a basin that's about a whole kilometer by a kilometer and a half, and it's formed by this old terrace of the Rio Moctezuma right in front of us that we're sitting on, and then it goes to the west, but we got a lava flow in the middle that kind of formed this really neat little basin. And that basin has been filling up with a variety of sediments and little environments that say river flow, and then we get marsh, and then we get a lot of over-the-bank fill, which we don't understand yet, but it's about like 2.5 meters. And I think that might be over-the-bank fill coming from Rio Moctezuma. And then we have a marsh unit again that covers that whole region. And then when that marsh unit gets to the top of the lava flow, it stops. And after at that point, we get 4 meters of typical cobbles, pebbles, stuff that says chaos of the Rio Moctezuma flow. So it's just 11 meters of really neat stuff. And we've been getting all these tropical things, but then we get all these things that kind of say typical North American Rancho La Brean. We get clams and snails. Of course, we have to have those. And the question is, in some ways, we're kind of describing what this Mexican province is of the Rancho La Brea. We know it's Rancho La Brea because we have bison. So now the question is, what is this environment out here? Over 66 taxa of vertebrates and invertebrates, ostracods on up in size. And the idea is to figure out what the heck's going on. And I need you to tell me what's going on.
All right.
What does it all mean? So that's, it's weird to get, say, something like bison, and it's a very big bison, and mammoth, which we're used to, say, in Arizona. But then we get crocodiles and caracara, and of course you expect ducks. Just a variety of things that are tropics. And we're 350 kilometers from the Gulf. So it had the crocodile, which we think is the American crocodile, is known to go up rivers. But I don't know of any historic record that, they occurred along Tiburon Island. Gary Nabhan has said that. But they've never found it up the rivers.
Well, I'm delighted that you've got what you've been describing, plus you didn't mention gomphotheres, a third group of elephants besides mammoths and mastodons that have not been found north of the border in a deposit as young as this. But what's dramatic about it is just what you have to imagine not too long ago in geological time as part of our legacy, and this really deals with patriotism, I think, with our American belief in our country. When we sing Home on the Range, we only talk about buffalo and a few other common species. Where are the deer and the antelope? We don't say anything about gomphotheres or glyptodonts or capybara.
Home on the Range with the crocodile?
And Home on the Range with the crocodile in western North America.
Yeah.
What we really lost was an understanding of the nature of America. We lost it because we listened, and we should have, to Lewis and Clark, and they told us what was in the West, and we decided that was what belonged in the West, and that was what wild America was all about, what they saw along the Columbia River and along the upper Missouri. But that was just the top of the iceberg. There's a whole lot more to the natural fauna of the New World that evolved here. And how long do you say what's the age of your estimate of the age of this deposit?
It could be 440,000 years ago.
Right.
I mean, that's...
Well, that seems incomprehensibly ancient, and yet it's really quite relatively young for the western region, where you've got tens of millions of years to deal with evolutionary change in mammals, a diversity of mammal species, and we don't know that historically. We don't understand what it means to have three different families of mammoths on the landscape. Were you surprised when you found the gomphotheres?
Oh, yeah. I go, what is this? Why do we have this thing? And then right next to it are glyptodons. And you kind of go, well, this is so cool. What does it mean? And that's why we're thinking it might be early Pleistocene. But then we start getting the bison. And then we start to get things that would say a mixture of, as you say, the Lewis and Clark North America. So we get the typical Lewis and Clark North America stuff. And then we start getting these things that speak tropics. And I don't understand this interlope area. And I think that's what I like about it. We don't get the boreal species like the voles and everything that speaks cold. We're getting things that speak, I like it hot, but I like grazing.
Right. So this is wild America. Hey, it's in the fossil record here. So we can't see it running around, but we know enough about Africa, and we have some sense of what it's like to have a continent rich in species of large animals. And what you're doing is putting bone, if not muscle and tissue, into that argument. And then what happens to these guys? Why do they disappear? Do we have something like an asteroid hit that wiped out the what do you think about the extinctions of your gomphotheres, capybara, and
Well,
Glyptodont.
yeah, you're egging me into a dangerous area.
Be bold. Charge ahead.
Okay, absolutely. I have no clue. I think for this, of course, we can say once the marsh unit is gone, then those warmth-loving, tropical-speaking things are gone, but I think they're only locally gone. Now, if we follow this lava flow and we follow the other lava flows, there must have been just a slew of these little pond and bassinet things all up and down. So once this one's filled in, it's kind of like, okay, we'll go to the next pond. So now how long that lasted, I don't know. But I think these things were filling in. We have what looks like a savanna soil getting drier and drier to behind us and to the east. But actually what killed them off, that's your area. I just scooted them out of the basin, and you got to figure out what was the final demise.
Who knows? They come and go. Why worry about it? Extinctions all over the place in the fossil record.
Yeah, but something really changed enough to get some of these critters not to occur this far north today. We're in interglacial now, so why, we think of warmth and interglacials as opportune times, but, I mean, why don't we have crocodiles up here now? I want to know. Well, I presume it's too dry.
Yeah,
it's just not enough water to go up these rivers. So we're bringing students out at least twice a year, and undergraduates and graduates. And then what's really cool is to get the people from Unisierra, and we have one gal here today from Unisierra, and then getting some of the school kids. That is cool when they get out here, and then they just start seeing these things. And, of course, they love the big bison and everything because they relate it to, remember, this is the bones they had out here were related to the extinct giant boy that was here. So that's the legend, extinct giant boy. And we go, well, that was a really big guy because there's bones all over the place of this giant kid. And, who knows? They realize that that's not the boy, but it fits the legend, so they go with it. It's neat for them to really see the kids get excited, and usually now it's the girls, little girls. They're always out here looking at bones, wanting to dig. That's really neat. So.
And this is their property. This is their land. Their grazing.
Right. We actually split. We split between Terapa and El Llano. El Llano is the little town north of us, and that used to be all Terapa, and then one group went off, and so the land split. But we see them both. They allow us to work here and all this. So it's great cooperation, just tremendous. I've never seen anything like it. So.
Well, it takes time to sort out all this fossil information and reinterpret it. But I want to sing a new song for Home on the Range, and it's going to have some of these extinct animals in it because I think the range is capable of supporting a whole lot more than we see in terms of diversity. And wouldn't it be neat if we could bring back, we can't bring back all the equivalents, but we've got antelope that would run from cheetah that are now extinct, and yet they are still alive in Africa, a close relative of the extinct American cheetah. That's a pretty bold move to think even about bringing back a predator. But we can point out that this kind of restarting of evolution has actually happened without any thought in terms of horses. We've got horses and burros, two different groups of equids that people are very happy to have on the western parts of the Western Range. Be nice to control them better. Maybe we need some more predators or some means of regulating the numbers of these wild burros and wild horses. But if we have them, we can certainly think about having camels and elephants and cheetah and even African lions, whose New World equivalent was a closely related population or species.
Yeah, Felis atrox. Well, what do you think of the jaguar coming more and more across the
I love it. It's not in my backyard, you understand, but...
you don't have any cats anymore, do you? Yeah.
Don't have a cat. The dynamic nature of what wild animals can do is a challenge to our understanding. And the dynamic nature of what you find in the fossil record is really a challenge to our understanding of where to go with this continent.
Yeah.
But I think we're a bit complacent, and Home on the Range isn't the final song to sing.